Welcome to Hey Therapist. I'm your host, Leslie Ross. With me is my producer, Jay Wesley Lindley. Let's get mental. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hey Therapist. We are on episode 27. I know I'm still a little baby podcast, but it's growing, and I appreciate everyone sticking with me and staying listening or watching or wherever you're at, because we do have all the podcast episodes, and it's also on YouTube. So if you're missing out on my mug, you could go check out YouTube. But I do want to say thank you to everyone that's listening. Today's episode is going to be a little different. What we're going to talk about a little bit is crisis, what that looks like, how that's handled, and what people can do. And I know I have a lot of listeners across many different states, and a lot of the guidelines are the same. There is, some nuances in states and different countries. I've got some other country listeners, so thank you guys for that as well. But I want to talk about what happens when someone is in true crisis. And, holiday seasons do make it a little bit more prominent. We get to holidays, people are lonely or they're missing their families and they quote unquote want to join them wherever they are. If they are deceased, they may just feel really hopeless and helpless. Cold weather does the same for our unhoused population. It's one of those things that I really think it's important that everyone really understands what that means. We've all heard the jokes about sending people inpatient or, 5150s. There's a whole country song, 5150, somebody call the popo, right? So I just want to talk about that a little bit because it is made a joke every now and then. I hear people say all the time, oh, you can send me inpatient. I need a break for a few days. And though it doesn't sound terrible, not how it works. And, they got rid of true institutions many years ago, the Reagan administration. And it was one of the things that was good in theory. But we have a lot of individuals who are now unhoused or family members are trying to manage them and it's beyond their scope. But I want to talk about, the things that you do go inpatient for. In Oklahoma, it's called an emergency detention. So we are there for immediate harm to self, immediate harm to others, or what they call grave danger or grave disability. And that category kind of falls into they are in let's say we have someone who is in a super paranoid state because maybe they're not on medications or they've stopped taking their medications or something has happened that's gotten them highly stressed, which has triggered a psychotic episode or a paranoid episode, and they're not eating. They won't eat or drink. They're afraid that everything is drugged, that their medicines are not real medicines, that there's something in their water, that there's something in their food. And so we're going days on end without eating or drinking. That's a reason we could send someone inpatient, because an involuntary order to send someone inpatient takes away their rights. It is a court order. We are sending someone by law against their will a lot of times into a hospital setting, into an institutionalized setting. And so it's not something that, clinicians take lightly. It's not something that any of us want to do most of the time. At my current position, I have to be on call, and that means if a crisis comes in, they call me. I have to evaluate the person, make sure that they're safe if they are a harm to themselves, a harm to others, or grave disability. And it's really, really stressful. It's not something that any clinician should take lightly. I'm sure there's some that may, but I don't know many. It's very stressful because we are in a position where we are taking away someone's rights. Now, there's always the option to go voluntary. If you find yourself in crisis, if you find yourself where you're having these intrusive thoughts, and when I say intrusive thoughts, the thought of killing yourself or just ending it all, it's actually a pretty normal thought that people have every now and then, or once in a while. You're having a really shitty day or something terrible has happened and you're driving home and you're like, I could just drive off this bridge. Then you go, wait, what? No, that's not what I'm actually thinking. That's not what I believe. But it's pretty normal to have a thought like that when you're in those types of situations. And some people have those types of intrusive thoughts a lot. I could hurt this person, or I could hurt myself, or I could do this, do that. And sometimes that's a form of OCD. And that's a whole other episode. It's one of those things that if you find yourself having those thoughts and you really feel unsafe with yourself, you can go to a hospital, you can go to an inpatient unit, be evaluated, check yourself in, and that way you're somewhere safe. And a voluntary, in Oklahoma anyway, a voluntary doesn't really change your rights. An involuntary will take away some of your rights to gun ownership, certain jobs, those types of things. If you're I've been doing this and I've been dealing with my military, my law enforcement, those types of people, and they're having this, I encourage them, or a family member, because some people can't be trusted to do it themselves, to take them voluntary. And that way they're signing themselves in, they can sign themselves out, and they can do the work, they can be safe, they can get the help they need without an involuntary order. And there's a lot of individuals out there who have family members who kind of live in psychosis. They live in those moments where they may be talking to themselves, they may have voices, they may be kind of aggressive but not actually harming anyone or actually making threats. We can't do anything about that. We can refer them to outpatient services. We can refer them to get medications. We can get them, with case management, with therapy, with whatever they need to help manage. We cannot send them inpatient for that because they are not an immediate harm to themselves or others. I'll have people call and they'll be like, my person, whoever they're taking care of, their child, their spouse, their whoever, friend, whatever, they're really off and they're not taking their meds. They're doing all these things. They said they were going to kill themselves. I'm like, okay, so let's get them to a hospital. Let's call law enforcement. Let's do what we need so we can do an evaluation. With further questioning, I'll say, well, when did they say that? And it'll be like, well, last week. I can't do anything about that. And I hate it sometimes because we get to know individuals, especially in this line of work, and you understand their patterns. You know that they're on the way to a full-on crisis. But right at this moment, they're not someone who I can send involuntarily to an inpatient facility, because if I say, are you going to hurt yourself? They're going to say, no, I'm fine. Well, the voices are kind of telling me to hurt myself, but I'm not going to do anything about it right now. Okay, well, I can't do anything about that either. So it's not one of those things where we can just send people inpatient because they're refusing to take their medications. We can't send people inpatient because they're having voices and talking to themselves. They may be okay with it. As much as I hate the term crazy, but a phrase that we say in this line of work, that it's not illegal to be crazy. It's not illegal to be crazy in public. We get a lot of calls from law enforcement or other people or community members, or law enforcement gets a lot of calls from community members. And then they call us and say, what can we do about this? Nothing. We can living their lives with services. But if they're just living their lives, yeah, maybe they stand on the street and talk to themselves. Maybe they do all of these other things, but they're not doing anything else. There's nothing that a clinician, that an inpatient facility, that law enforcement can do about that, because it's not illegal to be crazy in public. Now, if that person is walking in front of cars, and when asked, are you trying to kill yourself? They may say no. We know that they're walking in front of cars. We have these statements from other people where they're jumping into traffic or they're doing things. Maybe it's because of command hallucinations or command delusions. Maybe it's because they're actually suicidal. They don't want to admit it. But if we have these statements from other people that say, yes, they're doing these things that are putting them at risk, immediate risk, then we can send someone inpatient on that level, or get them, to a hospital, to somewhere that can get help. Maybe you're not at that point. Maybe you just need someone to reach out to. And that's really the main thing I wanted to focus on this episode. I wanted to give the brief overview because a lot of people get confused about how that works and what we can do and what we can't do. And like I said, there's a lot of nuances that your state may have, or your country, or whatever it is. So, you can't just go off of what I'm saying, obviously. But in Oklahoma, that's kind of how it's handled. And there's exceptions, there's ways around, there's things that we can do differently sometimes, but it's pretty rare that we can make those types of exceptions. I really just wanted to have this episode where I can provide resources and have my helper here. Amelia's helping me out, so anyone on the video can see I'm getting help. There she is. So what I want to do is talk about some resources that are free, that are available to everyone, and that you can reach out to from your house, from your cell phone, from your computers, wherever you are. So one of the first things in Oklahoma, we used to have 211, but it's not existent. It's run by the same people now. But now we have 988, and 988 is actually nationwide. You can pick up your phone and dial 988. Someone will answer that call. And it's going to be either a peer or a licensed clinician or a case manager or someone. They're going to be there to answer that call. They're going to talk to you about what's going on. They're going to ask, what the situation is. What is happening? What do you need? If you need more specific care, then they're probably going to stay on the phone with you, and someone's going to come to your house. And they're going to show up and they're going to get you on an iPad or a Zoom call, something that is HIPAA compliant, that is secure, and you're going to be evaluated. And that way you're going to have service there. But it's the mobile crisis line, and it's 988, and it's that easy. Now, my sister's told me that for her phones at her work, you have to dial 9, but then when it's an 888 number, it gets a little tricky. She's picked up and it's been a hotline. So it can be a little tricky with some of the phone lines. But for the most part, you can pick up and dial 988 from cell phone, from a landline, from anything, and you will get someone on that phone. The crisis text line. You could go to the website, crisistextline.org, or you can text HOME, HOME, to 741-741, and you will be connected to someone that can talk to you, that can see what's going on, that can give some support, some peer support, whatever it is. They're going to be there. You can also go to our website, like I said, the crisistextline.org. They have a chat option. I believe there's a phone number on there for them, but they are the most available for texting, just kind of in a as needed basis. They're going to be there to be able to support that. If you are struggling with domestic violence, sexual assault, any of those things, there is RAINN.org, RAINN.org. It stands for Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. They also have a youth hotline. National Sexual Abuse Hotline is 800-656-4673. And you can call that number. If you go to their website, they have a lot of resources on there about assault, about support. They have, like I said, the youth section on there, all of those things that can get you help with that. If you're in the LGBTQ plus community, we have the trevorproject.org. It was started to work to be a support group to end suicide among the LGBTQ plus community. They have great resources on their website. Their hotline phone number is 866-488-7386, or you can text 678-678, and you'll be connected to someone who can help you, who can speak with you, who can get you some resources. And then the last one I want to mention is NAMI, and it's the National Association of Mental Illness, I think, but it's NAMI.org, and they have on their website a chat option. They have peer support, they have text, they have all of the things. And their number is 800-950-6244, or you can text FRIEND to 62640, and you will be connected with someone that can help you, that can be there to support you. And all of those numbers are available 24/7, And if one's not for some reason working, you can jump on another one and get support and help that you need. And I really just wanted to put this kind of brief episode out there for anyone who's needing support, who may be struggling over the holiday season or any other time and looking for resources, but you don't know where to go. You may not want to Google it yourself, and you can just jump on here. I'll set up a page on the website at heytherapist.com or hey-therapist.com. They take you to the same place. We can set up a page there with all of these links and resources. And that way, if you need anything and you don't want to just Google it, you can go to my website and then you can go from there. I really just want everyone to know that help is out there. Help is out there in many, many different ways, in many different areas for different populations. It can be very specific or very general, but there is help, and it doesn't involve, going straight to the hospital. Where I work, it's community mental health, and it's had the reputation, and probably still does with some people, that it's where you go inpatient. Like, people didn't understand that it's where you go to get help. It's where you go for services prior to going inpatient. We don't want to send people inpatient. That is, my goal is to keep you out of the hospital and to keep you safe. But if you get to the point where you're not, reach out to someone, reach out to one of these hotlines, reach out to a friend, reach out to law enforcement, call the ambulance, take yourself to the hospital. If you feel like you cannot be trusted, if you are at that point, then there is no shame in getting help, because it's what you need at that time. It's better to live another day and have gone to an inpatient facility or a hospital and gotten help than to let the voices and the direness and the darkness take over, because there is always hope, and it may be very small, and you may not even know it's out there. And that's why I wanted to make sure everyone had access to these resources, and they're all free, and they're there for you, and you can find what you need and get services, because a lot of times we lose hope because we don't know any better. But I want to help people understand that there is always hope. There is always something out there that can help you. And it may seem dire, and you may not be able to see the way out, but that's what happens when we get into crisis, is we can't see a way out. We can't find the light because we have tunnel vision. And the tunnel that we're in is very, very dark. But there are a lot of light bringers. There are a lot of people who can give you that flicker of hope and help you and give you services. And the trick is you have to ask for it. And sometimes people are going to try to give you services you're not asking for. And that's okay too. They may see something that you're not seeing. They may see the spiral. They may see something that's happening that you don't even understand. So, if they're offering help, if they're reaching out, you may want to take it. Otherwise, you have these resources now. There's no excuses to not reach out and to not get the help that you need. For my producer, Jay Lindley, I'm Leslie Ross. Thank you all for joining us. Please send any questions or comments through the website, heytherapist.com, or email help@heytherapist.com. They may be featured on the show anonymously. Hey Therapist is an SEOK radio production and is for your entertainment purposes only. Thank you for joining us. Make good choices.